What's going on, everybody? It is the one and only Q here from Retro Q Gaming, and now that we have the new 9th generation consoles launched 3 months ago from both Microsoft and Sony, as well as Nintendo's 9th generation console from 4 years ago, now that they've all released, the dust has settled a little bit, it's time to talk about reality. But before we talk about reality, you might remember that I predicted the last year pretty much, down to a T. I'm not talking coronavirus, I'm talking the other thing that I completely 100% predicted and came to be 100% true. You might remember in around the time of late 2019, probably October, November, December, it really kicked off officially in December because of the first announcement of the whole thing. But I predicted the entire run-up to the launch of the current generation consoles was going to be an absolute media disaster. First off, it was going to be a disaster anyway, but second and most importantly, it was going to be an absolute shit show, a complete storm of lies and misinformation. And now that we are here 3 months after launch, we can talk about the reality and the broken promises, just like I told you. And you know what? That's not even I told you so video. This one is more so public service announcement. Always fact check this kind of stuff. Many people out there easily get caught up in the hype of new hardware and all, and they ignore complete facts and complete hardware limitations. But hey, that's what being a console gamer is all about apparently. But the big one I want to highlight is everything you've seen throughout the entire year. It's every time a new game has been announced, every time an update has been announced, every time details have been announced, broken promises, etc., etc. How many games did you see a new update announced for, or how many games did you see just a next gen version at the time, because now they're current gen, and then it was all announced and it was going to be 4K 120 support, and then it turns out you have a choice, which is either not 4K, it's a lower dynamic resolution with low settings and a variable frame rate, usually between 30 to 60, sometimes between 20 to 30, or you get a 120 FPS mode, which is still 1080p low settings and can drop from 90 to 120 FPS. How many times did you hear a game advertised to be coming with 4K 30 FPS ray tracing or 4K 60 FPS ray tracing, and then the full game actually launches and lo and behold, you have a choice, 4K 30 or 1440p 60, neither of which can maintain their frame rate and neither of which contain the promised ray tracing, and no, it will not be patched in later. The quick answer to all of these questions that you may be wondering is almost every single game. It's practically every single game. There are only one or two that delivered on their initial specified promises. There's so much marketing and misinformation out there. It's all so much lies. It's all so much literal marketing. And it's all complete bullshit. They try hook you in with 4K 120Hz support, and then right before launch, the day before launch, the week before launch, or maybe even after launch because they didn't announce it previously, well, you find out that it's 4K native. Yeah, right, as if there's anything 4K native in these consoles. But it's crappy, lower dynamic resolution. It's 30 FPS, or it has a separate 1080p 120 FPS mode. It's all bullshit, it's all lies, I told you so. That's right, I went there. Why? Because I understand technology, unlike everyone who lives in these two plastic boxes, and it's completely tied to their identity. If you want to understand technology, or you want real-world estimations and approximations on what to expect based on hardware, stick with me, you'll get places. There's a reason why both of these consoles are underperforming in every single game. There's nothing big and fancy about playing Control with everything on the lowest setting, except for maybe two options, which are on medium, and some of which are even lower than the lowest setting, and some of which are off completely, all so you can play at a 1440p ray-traced 30 FPS. There's nothing next-gen about that. Hell, there's nothing next-gen about any of these consoles. Even that SSD is out of date.